What if all this AI hype, the demos, the billion-dollar valuation, the next industrial revolution headlines is actually the setup for something more cynical, disastrous, bigger, might I add? I'm not talking about killer robots or sci-fi disasters. I'm talking about an economic bubble that's inflating right now in real time under the label of innovation. Today, you and I are going to talk about what everyone is calling the AI bubble, why some of the smartest tech CEOs are quietly building bunkers and buying remote land, yes, literally, and how all of this ties back to what people think is just a jobs are disappearing story. Here's where I stand. AI is definitely overrated in the short term and underrated in the long term. Right now, we're stuck in this messy middle where it's the gap between the hype and reality. And the gap is where the risk lives. So in this video, here's what we're going to be diving into. What the AI bubble actually is, those weird signs from inside, the bunkers, monopolies, the panic that is spreading, why the tech economy might get worse before it gets better, and most importantly, how you can read the signals so you don't get swept up in it and how you can profit from it, which I know a lot of people want to know that. So we're going to talk about those things. And I'm really excited for this because, to be honest, this isn't a doom story. Think of this like a pay attention story. And if you understand what's really happening under the surface, you won't just survive the shift, you'll most likely profit from it. So first things first, what is this AI bubble everyone's talking about? What does it actually mean when they say the AI bubble? Well, a bubble doesn't mean the tech is fake. All right, let's get that clear. It means the expectations are moving faster than reality. Think like the .com era. The internet was real, but babe, the timelines weren't. Right now, we're in that same weird zone. Everyone agrees AI is world changing, but the money, the promises, and the pace don't really match what is actually being delivered. Let me explain. We've got startups raising billions before they even have a product. We've got Fortune 500 rebranding everything as AI powered, even when it's really just Excel with better PR. And we've got maybe 5 companies that control the whole stack, chips, data centers, models, while everyone else rents from them and call it innovation. NVIDIA owns the power grids. OpenAI is building the city within those power grids, and the rest of Silicon Valley is selling apartment floor plans that don't exist. Now, don't get me wrong. There's real progress happening. The models are smarter, the chips are faster, and the infrastructure is actually insane. But that's why it's so confusing, because there's always some truth under the exaggeration. The danger of AI isn't real. It's people are betting on it like it's evenly distributed. Spoiler alert, it's not. And this part's important because when you see massive optimism from investors and quiet panic from insiders, that's usually a signal that the story's getting ahead of itself. Now, if the tech is so promising, why are the people running it acting like they're preparing for the end of the world? Let's talk about that. Now, this is where it does get a little weird. And stick with me. Because while everyone's online talking about AI is taking jobs, and sadly, that's me as well, the people building the AI are quietly buying the bunkers, building the bunkers, literally private islands, underground shelters, land in New Zealand, take your pick. And you might think, okay, there's rich people paranoia, Risa. But here's what makes it interesting. These are the same CEOs who keep telling us AI is the greatest breakthrough in human history, and the same ones preparing for if it all goes wrong scenario. They're not just preparing for pandemics or climate change, people. They're hedging against economic instability, a world where automation outpaces employment and the social fabric starts to tear a bit. Now let's zoom out. At the same time, they're building literal escape plans. They're also building monopolies. NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI, they've quietly locked up the entire ecosystem. You got NVIDIA selling the hardware and investing in the companies that buy the hardware. You've got OpenAI signing multi-$100 billion cloud deals with Oracle. And you got Microsoft sitting in the middle, investor, distributor, landlord. It's like the entire AI industry is money just circulating between the same 4 companies. So when you hear people say AI is the new gold rush, sure. But it's not like miners out there digging. It's like guys selling everyone shovels and real estate. That's why I think some of these tech elites are preparing for impact, because deep down they know this isn't a free market revolution. It's a concentration event. Like, too few people control too much of a value chain. History tells us it never ends smoothly. And maybe that's why the bunkers exist, not because they think AI will destroy the world, but because they're building a world that might destroy itself. Anyways, let's look at how this starts showing up in the real economy, because it's not just the CEOs feeling it. Companies are already showing the cracks. So here's the thing. The AI boom was supposed to fix the economy. New tech, new jobs, new industries, the usual Silicon Valley cycle. But what we're actually seeing is kind of opposite. The money is flowing up, not out. You've got higher interest rates, overhired startups, and corporations are trying to automate faster than they can afford to. And in the middle of all of that, they're still paying thousands of people to sit in these transition roles while they figure out how to integrate AI. That's what I call it, employment drag. It's when companies are trialing automation but still carrying the full human payroll from the pre-AI model. It's expensive, confusing, and really hard to sustain. That's part of why you're seeing this slow bleed of layoffs across industries. Not mass firings, just a constant drip of restructuring, because they can't replace everyone with AI just yet, but they can't justify keeping everyone either. Meanwhile, the valuations keep rising. AR startups are still being priced like they're solved consciousness, even though half of them are running on API calls to OpenAI. It's a bit like watching a kid stack chairs on top of each other and calling it architecture. It's not really just about jobs. It's about the pressure. Who do you think is giving them the pressure? The investors. They want their returns now. Boards want AI integration like yesterday. And companies that aren't AI enough risk looking outdated to shareholders, even if their fundamentals, their books are fine. That's a dangerous place for an economy to live, where optics move faster than operations. So what happens when this pace catches up with itself? When companies can't keep burning cash or the hype cycle runs out of buzzwords? That's where the bubble risks really kicks in. It's not just about whether AI works, it's about whether the economy built around it can hold. And if it can't, the fallout won't just be financial. It'll actually be structural, which brings us to the next question. What actually happens if this thing pops? Okay, let's say the AI bubble pops and it gets there. What does this even look like? Well, in my humble opinion, first, the valuations collapse. Not because AI suddenly stopped working, but because the money runs out before the promises catches up. Startups fold, funding dries up, and suddenly everyone who built their identity around disruption is just unemployed with good LinkedIn banners. Then it ripples. Big tech slows down, hiring contracts get cut, and then the smaller players, the agencies, the firms, the consultants, they start to feel it next. Because remember, the entire economy right now leans on tech money. When that money freezes, so does everything else attached to it. And here's where it gets messier. AI was sold as this job killer, but if the bubble bursts too early, it won't be because AI took all the jobs. It's because the economy couldn't support the transition. That's the irony. Instead of automation causing mass unemployment, it might be the illusion of automation that causes it. Companies betting too early on systems that aren't ready and cutting too many humans before the tech can really fill the gap. And when that happens, you don't just lose jobs. Unfortunately, you lose people's identity. The sense of direction people build around their career starts to crack. You'll see more people start saying, actually, I don't even know what to do anymore, because the ladder they were climbing just disappears. And this is where the human side of the bubble kind of shows up. It's not about the market or money. It's about, I know it sounds crazy, but belonging. We tied our sense of self to economic systems that no longer guarantee stability. And when those systems shake, so does everything attached to them. So if this bubble bursts, yes, there will be layoffs, valuation crashes, and startup chaos. But underneath all of that, there's something definitely deeper happening. We're being forced to redefine what work even means in a world that's leading to run without us. Anyways, I know that sounds kind of dark, but it's actually where opportunity also starts. Because the next phase isn't about who survives the collapse, it's about who adapts to what comes after that collapse. So let's talk about that. What should you actually be watching for, and how do you prepare? Okay, if it was me, what I'm thinking about is this isn't just a tech story anymore. It's an economic one. First, I would pay attention to hiring patterns. When major tech companies start quietly restructuring, that's usually code for we're testing new tech and it don't need as many of these people to test it. Layoffs aren't just numbers, they're really signals. If you start seeing headcount reductions paired with vague AI integration initiatives, that means the pivot's happening faster than the narrative can admit. Second, I would watch for pauses. When these AI projects suddenly go silent or get delayed, it's not always about the innovation cycles. Sometimes it's about cash. As simple as that. Its funding slows down, infrastructure projects stall, and that's the sign the hype is cooling before the market does. And then third, this one's kind of personal. I would check my own attachment. Most people are preparing financially, but not psychologically. We spend years in the system building our identity around what we do, not who we are. So when these economic shifts hit, people panic not because they lose their income, okay, but because they also lose definition. That's the part no one's talking about. You can't control interest and without funding, but you can't control interest rates or startup funding, but you can control how tightly you cling to the story of your job title. So I would say detach a little, build range, learn how to matter in multiple ways, because the people who adapt faster aren't the ones who predict the future. They're the ones who learn how to stay useful in it. Financially, yeah, a buffer, that's obvious. Diversify your income if you can, but mentally build adaptability, because the next era isn't about competing with AI, it's about coexisting with it in a system that's still trying to figure itself out. You don't have to know what's coming next. You just have to be ready to pivot when it does. Now, let's tie this all together and make it make sense. This is where we land. AI isn't a scam, unfortunately. It's just being treated like magic before it's fully real. The bubble isn't just financial, it also can be emotional. We've attached so much hope, fear, and identity to this idea that technology will fix literally everything that we stop asking, okay, what happens if it doesn't? Right now, AI is being overestimated in the short term and underestimated in the long term. It will reshape the world, just not the way the headlines is making it sound. And in between now and then, there's going to be a lot of noise, layoffs, hype, and quiet rebuilding. But when you see the CEOs building bunkers, investors chasing the same three companies, and workers clinging to titles that might not exist in 5 years, that's not your paranoia. That is a signal. The real question isn't, will AI take our jobs? It's, who still matters when the system around those jobs shift? So don't wait for certainty. Build your own clarity. Pay attention to the cracks, but don't build your life on them. Because the future doesn't belong to the people who predict every collapse. Just me. It belongs to the ones who stay steady while the noise gets too loud. You feel me? You understand? All right. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, check out my previous videos. I truly love you guys being here. I truly love you being in a community of smart people. Yeah. Later.